Hello and welcome to today's Pick a Card. Today I am doing tarot for difficult days, which means if you are currently having a hard time with something, I'm hoping to shed some light on the situation and see how we can manage through these difficult days that you are facing. So I have prepared 3 piles with some oracle cards. As always, we will pull a lot more during your reading. Take a moment to get a feel for which pile is calling you, and then you can find the according pile in the timestamps in the description below. So let me give you a close-up. I picked out some pendants to go with today's pick a card. So first pile, we have some blues here. It says Seaside Retreat and Tropic, and then with it this crow-like pendant with pearl and I believe onyx. Let's focus there. So that is pile number 1. Pile number 2, we have Satin Flower, Raspberry Macaroon, sounds delicious, and this floral pendant with citrine in it. That is pile 2. And pile 3, we have August Morning and Butterscotch Sauce with this pendant that has some turquoise and I think some coral in the middle. So I will give you a moment to zone in on these 3 options, and I will meet you at your pile whenever you are ready. Hello, pile 1. If you chose the blues with this black and pearl pendant, then this is your reading. I'm going to put the oracle card aside for now. We will take a look at that later and see how that plays into the reading. And we'll leave this right here. Okay, so let's see. We're gonna pull some sorry, I just made a last minute decision to use a different deck. And I have to pick this one up. It was just looking at me and I knew. Okay, let me give this one a good shuffle though. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and do that off camera so I don't waste your time. Be right back. Okay, we are fully shuffled and ready to go. So this is my Tarot Oracle deck combination. I do not take reversals in this. And let's take a look. So again, this is a reading for difficult days. Let's see what comes out. It appears, yep, it appears like you're shedding some skin. You're shedding an old layer of yourself, and look how the sun just came out for that. It looks like this is a spiritually motivated shedding, possibly. We have the Hermit right here, so that does usually indicate that this is a solo journey. This is something that is, there's a call for change coming from deep within. and it also feels like you're kind of like on your toes. I just said on your toes, and I don't know why, but as I was shuffling, I'm trying to focus in on tarot for difficult days, and my brain kept going to yoga for difficult days, yoga. So that might have a significance for you. That might help you manage through the difficult time that you're facing right now. Yeah, there is, as I said, there's this feeling of being on your toes coming in here, and then this card is protection and defense. Feeling not defensive, but protective over something. This top one. Sure, we will take this. We have the Lovers and the Justice card. It feels like, and remember I said a shedding of skin, and then we have here this imagery of a crab who has like obviously really a tough shell, a tough outer shell. I think you might be working towards a softening, but that is really uncomfortable. And you're finding new ways to protect yourself, because the old ways of protecting yourself, you're realizing possibly were harmful, not beneficial to your growth. You were in this hard shell, and it wasn't allowing for expansion. You're trying to expand. You're trying to live in this world more. I'm hearing carefree, but that's not quite what I'm trying to say. You're trying to live with more like curiosity and more, just more expansive energy. And also I'm getting this image of more accountability and more, like I'm getting this image of somebody being like, I'm gonna start recycling. Like being more accountable for the energy that you put out, good and bad. So that's why I'm thinking of recycling, like transmuting negative energy that you possibly put out. You're trying to find new ways of repackaging that energy. And this is interesting because this is actually the card that I saw peeking out that was staring at me, asking me to use this deck. So not surprised that it came out. This is the Death card, and the combination of these two cards together, this is like keeping a close eye on something, and this is also like very much repackaging. I know I just said that word, but it just fits. If you take a look at, this is like a statue that somebody created, and then this tool that they used was stabbed into it at the end, as if to say like, this is not good enough, this is not what I wanted to create. There is this feeling of having carefully created a cast. I'm thinking of like molds and casts and carefully created, possibly even a mask, like a carefully created and curated mask or mold for yourself, and then getting to a point where you're sick of it. And like you don't want to be in this mold anymore. You want to break out of it, and you want to live more authentic. But like I said, that then makes you vulnerable, because you leave that mask, you leave that cast, and it makes you feel vulnerable. This is, I mean, this imagery of like drowning in water with your inner child like on top of you, like as that is as vulnerable as it gets. This is about the vulnerable parts that you're experiencing are more so about your ego. Your ego feels really vulnerable. But I think part of you, part of your soul is rejoicing because this is actually an act of self-love, because you're allowing yourself to grow. This is an act of creating, coming into balance. But I could see how this would be a very, very difficult transition, because it just feels like it's very difficult to face change in general, and when change happens outside of us, at least we usually have like mechanisms to cope with that change, internal mechanisms, internal like thought processes or habits that we use to soothe ourselves. But this change is happening internal, so you're realizing that those soothing habits or those that mask that you were wearing is not helping you, and that you're almost kind of like I'm actually not sure how it works with reptiles that shed their skin, but I would imagine that as soon as their skin, like when the old skin sheds, that the new skin is somewhat sensitive. Possibly not, but that's what I'm definitely getting from this reading, is like that new skin is it's sensitive, and you're just used to that protective layer of shell around you, and now you have soft, smooth skin, and it's like you feel kind of naked. And this could be happening in a sense of you letting go of old relationship habits. This can be letting go of old expectations that you have in yourself, in a professional landscape. Like this can be many different things, so you'll have to know where this applies, and I'm sure you feel it. This is definitely difficult because it feels like you're so exposed, right? But ultimately, this is an expansion of positive energy. I know that it probably doesn't feel like that. You probably do feel it on some level, but it's scary. It's scary. At the bottom of the deck, we have this card that says disposition, tendency, governing principles. Governing principles, it's like your governing principles are changing, like the cornerstones of your self-image are shifting, and that feels, it makes you feel a little bit unhinged. But I do think that you're headed in a more, I mean, look at all this water that we have. I think it takes a while to realize that you can manage the ebb and flow, that you can manage the waves as they come. And I do think that you are pretty hard on yourself right now. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was out of focus. I hope it was not out of focus for long, although autofocus is on, so I'm feeling like there is a message there. I want to pull some emotion cards and see what comes out. This can be about what is blocking you. It's usually how these cards come into play. What is blocking you emotionally? Regret. And I feel like regret might be around that idea of you've casted a mold that now doesn't fit anymore. And it's like, why did I ever like mold myself to be this way? Frustrated. Yep. Invulnerable. This is, in terms of what's blocking you, is like the idea of being vulnerable is difficult for you to manage. And at the bottom of the deck is discomfort. Yeah, this is a very uncomfortable position for you to be in. And I understand it. I'm a water sign. I have a lot of water placements. I think the discomfort and the vulnerable moments in life, I think that's when we realize like how strong we really are. So I think I feel like what you need to hear right now is that you haven't done anything wrong in terms of keeping yourself safe in the past with the outer shell that you needed for survival. That is there for a reason, and you're not behind on anything. You're not less than for having to go through this process at this point in time. No matter at what point in your life you are right now, you are going through the process, and many people don't even do that. So don't judge yourself too harshly for letting the mask stay on in the past. You're examining it right now, and it's not an easy process. This one. Ennoble your soul. That's interesting. Ennoble. Huh. We have a 10 here. I'm going to get another one of these. Because I don't know how I feel about that card. I think your soul already is headed in the right direction. I think maybe you... Because what is ennoble? And like, becoming a noble... Nobles in history were noble because of their bloodline. And then you have, of course, like the people that gain titles through marriage or through... Sheesh, I don't know how all that stuff works, but I'm just trying to follow where my brain is going. Being knighted, stuff like that. So I think this is actually more about your perspective and... Ooh. Okay, I said I think it's about your perspective, and then I'm like realizing that this banner says angels, and if you turn it around, it says devils on the other side. That's interesting. This feels... Oh, and look at the wings too. And this is exactly what it feels like. It feels like changing your perspective, that your demons were necessary at some point. And that doesn't mean that you're not... Just because you have or had demons or faced demons in the past doesn't mean that you are not worthy of wings. And the sun comes out beautifully for that. It's very overcast today, so the sun keeps peeking out. Let me get one more of these. You have support. You have support, and this feels very much like spiritual support, especially because we have the hermit here, and the hermit usually has their lantern, and this light is here. Like, you have, you know how it takes caterpillars a while to like form their cocoon, in which they then transform. It feels like that cocoon is built for you already. You have the support that you need to make this transition. That doesn't mean that it's not scary, because the caterpillar becomes absolute goo soup before it turns into a butterfly. And it takes so much, an incredible amount of trust to just close up that cocoon and transform into goo soup, not knowing for sure that you'll come out the other end as a butterfly. But once that cocoon is closed, once you are in this process, there's no turning back, because now you're aware. Become more objective is at the bottom of the deck, and then I think this has to do with the fact that you're being really self-critical. So become more objective. Become more objective about the fact that we all have angels and demons, and we all face times of self-examination where we might not be very happy with what we're looking at, looking back. So let me take a look now at this card. Treasure. This is interesting because this feels very much like, where do we find treasures? Oh, there's a cat here. Treasures are usually buried in the dirt. And it's like you have to go through all of this grimy dirt. You're like pulling up roots, and there's like worms and all kinds of animals in the dirt. You're going through all this dirt to find a new version of yourself. And X marks the spot. Okay, I'm still gonna pull more card because now we know what we're dealing with. Now we know that you need to be a little bit kinder to yourself, that this is a process that does have a purpose. That doesn't make it any more fun, but that might make it more bearable. Let's take a look. What comes out here? Something to aid you through this process. Let me get a card to aid you through this process. Eternal Gatekeeper. Acknowledge, assert, and protect what is right for you. This feels very much, especially because it's acknowledge, assert. So, like I said, once you've reached this awareness of the mask that you need to take off, the cast that you need to come out of, the cocoon that you need to transform in, once you acknowledge that, you acknowledge and assert, meaning reassuring yourself that this is a transformation worth growing into, then you actually claim what is meant for you. internal gatekeeper. I think it's interesting that it has the word gatekeeper, because this feels like, even though it might feel like this is a process that you're being forced to undergo, you are the gatekeeper in this situation, meaning you hold the key. You are standing at this gate, and it's like you know it's there, you've become aware, and it is on you to go through it. Let's see if we can get one more. Women supporting women. Together we can transcend our individual limitations. I think, again, like I said, you were pretty hard on yourself. I think there is a sorry, I'm getting a lot of different things right now, because I'm feeling like this process of whether you are a woman or not, whether you have a uterus or not, I'm getting like this idea of the female cycle, the hormone cycle, and the shedding of lining and shedding of life and possibility, and the cycles. I'm also getting like the moon cycles, and just a lot of continuous growth. This is definitely connecting to feminine energy, feminine cycles. And again, whether you are male or female or non-binary, you still have feminine energy. On the other hand, this might be asking you to reach out to feminine energy for support, whether that is feminine energy within your life, so our mothers and sisters and such, or whether this is asking you to connect with feminine energy in general, which is asking you to be more nurturing with yourself, more forgiving with yourself. Because having a cast, having a mask, like that is this rigidness is very, very masculine. And that's, I think that is a lot of what we're seeing, like this transformation that's happening feels like a transformation from masculine energy softening into more feminine energy. The vulnerability, the being more in tune emotionally, a lot of feminine demand. So this is for sure asking you to connect more with that aspect of yourself, whether that is within yourself or externally, whichever you feel more comfortable doing. Okay, I'm going to take just one more oracle card, and then we're going to close this out. Rebirth. How perfect. I love it when that happens. Rebirth. For a star to be born, there is one thing that must happen. A gaseous nebula must collapse. This is exactly what we're talking about. Transformation, rebirth, the caterpillar to a butterfly, like it is. And at the bottom of the deck, peeking, we have almost there. Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. Yeah. This is very much, in terms of difficult days that you're facing, I get it because it feels like it's a process that you have to face alone. You don't know how long it's going to take. You don't know what the payout is going to be. It's frustrating, which is, right, we had, yeah, it's frustrating. So I think it is my duty as of right now to tell you that it is well worth it, and it is a natural cycle that you're going through, and you will come out the other end stronger than you even realize that you're capable of being. So I hope that that was helpful, and I wish you all the best. You've got this. And I hope to get to read for you again sometime. Thank you for joining me. Hi, Pile 2. This is your reading if you chose these dark reddish colors, and with it this citrine pendant. I'm going to leave these guys up here, and we're going to put your oracle card over here for now. We'll take a look at that later. So we are looking at a reading for difficult days. Hopefully we can get some insight on a little bit of what you're going through, why you're going through it, how to manage it. We'll see whatever comes out. So a reading for difficult days. Let's see. And this is my Tarot/Oracle combination deck. I don't know why I said it like that. And it really wanted to come out. I actually planned to use a different deck, and in the first reading, the deck was kind of looking at me, and funny enough, that's why I bring it up now. It was exactly this card, and it came out in the first reading as well. This is the Death card. So let's see what else comes with it. I'm getting like a slight, it's not quite a headache, but like a slight pressure on the left side of my head. Did not have that in the previous reading. Okay, immediately there's a lot of pressure in this energy for sure. We have the Death card, we have the Fool, which this in this deck is represented by Sagittarius, which is a very impressive card in this deck. And then we have the Ace of Swords, and then we have the Six of Wands. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of aiming high, a lot of self-criticism, a lot of expectations. And it feels like expectations in achieving, in mastering. And in this combination, I'm paying close attention to the bird in the background here. And I'm not sure why, this is just what I'm picking up on, but usually the Death card doesn't intimidate me at all. I'm a Scorpio, so I understand the necessity and the transformational aspects of the Death card. But in this combination, I'm feeling like a fragility. Oh, and there's a snail right here. I didn't see that before. And there's a spider. There's this fragility that is almost giving me like fear of not achieving what you're trying to achieve before your time runs out. Oh, and see, yes. See how I was pointing out this bird in the background here, and then the card right underneath it is this bird, obviously caught, tied up, feeling tied down. And also a card that's just as dark. This feels very like constricted. I want to say constricted by mortality. It's like you're shooting for more. I'm not sure if perhaps you're facing difficult times because you are facing illness. And illness can occur on many levels, of course. That can be physical, that can be mental, that can be many things. But it does feel like some kind of illness is like sticking to your energy, and actually consuming part of your energy. This feels a little bit like a little black hole when you really have like so many plans of achieving a lot of things, and I'm feeling like this really like this drain of like, but I want to do all of these things. This can also definitely be depression. So along with the Fool, we have this card that says Structural Stability Foundation. And I actually haven't encountered this card in this deck before. And this again feels like there's so many, the idea of an iceberg. You can only see like a certain percentage of an iceberg. Most of it is underwater, right? So, and maneuvering through those things, not knowing how much more is coming of this, feels very ambitious and very determined, and yet very difficult. I think you're looking at a lot of options, a lot of ways to honestly, this is giving me like you're looking at genetics somehow. I don't know that this will apply to a whole lot of people, but I'm getting like a very specific message of somebody dealing with some type of illness, and you really trying to master it and trying to figure out the genetics aspect of it, and figuring out how to outlive this illness. And again, that can also be depression. Wow, the way this card just fell down, and I had a hard time finding it. Like, it's just under my chair, but I was looking all over and I couldn't see it on the floor. And that is because I knew it. I knew it because I looked down and I couldn't see it anywhere. And I thought, that's because that card is going to bring the answer. Like, that card is going to bring... And this is the card that came out. It's Fornax, and it stands for incubation, pregnancy, nurturance. It is also the Two of Wands, which is like a look to the future, a plan. It in this deck specifically, it's like sowing seeds. Sowing seeds for the future. You're so motivated. You're so motivated, and yet it's like, this is super heavy. I do like these later cards that are coming out because it's a lightening up, and it's connected to your motivation, is your drive that helps you see into the future and really make the most of the resources that you have access to. I'm getting like this idea that something, this illness, again, whether it is chronic, whether it is physical or mental, or you're just not, it doesn't have to be a fully diagnosed illness. Whatever it is, you're obviously, the reading is about difficult days, right? So this heaviness, I tried to explain myself so much I forgot where I was going. But this heaviness, it feels like, is actually almost, it's so heavy that it takes incredible efforts to come out of that, and you are actually managing to eventually come out of that. I just keep looking at this image right here, and I just feel like the Fool especially is like the number 0 just indicates that anything is possible. And I'm looking at this imagery, and I'm just thinking like you have this godlike strength deep within you, and that's going to get you through so much. That doesn't mean that this is easy. Just because you're strong doesn't mean it's easy, right? But imagine like this heaviness that is like weighing you down, and each day you still try to get up and lift it a little bit, and each day you try, you work out your muscles and you get stronger until one day you are in a position to lift the heaviness. Okay, ooh, I'm just getting a ringing, oh my goodness, a ringing in my ear, in the left one as well. The head pressure that I had is gone. This card, I don't know if you saw here at the edge of the screen, but this, I set the deck down and this card just like slid off, because these cards are very shiny. So this just slid off, and it's the Hanged Man, and in this deck it stands for faith, guidance, and outside force. And I'm drawn to the faith. I think, and especially the outside force too, because I'm looking at this net that this bird is caught up in. This feels very much like there is something that is out of your control, and you're dealing with it as best as you can. And I think it goes from very dark and heavy to, not promising you rainbows and butterflies, but it lightens up color-wise and weight-wise. It lightens up. But I think it lightens up because of your disposition and your determination to manage, to control, to handle. I want to take a look at what emotions might be blocking you. Shame. If this does have to do with some kind of mental illness or, again, depression, shame is not helping you get to this point. This is where we are trying to go, which is a natural flow of things, right? This is how the cards came out. You are headed in this direction. Holding on to shame will slow this process down. Shame will not get you the resources that you need. Especially in this context, the resources, this is resources and labor. This feels like getting, and we see it has like 3 people, right? This feels like getting professional help. So if that is in fact something that you're dealing with, shame will not aid you. That doesn't mean you have necessarily control over it, right? That shame is a very deep-rooted emotion that we have that comes from society projecting their expectations on us. Fear, I feel like this is also coming from not like fearing that you're not going to be able to conquer this, which you absolutely are. You're going to conquer this no matter what it is. You're going to and I want to say this is, we have hurt that came out, and it came out down here, which feels very much like, yeah, this heaviness and darkness, this illness is causing you pain. When I say that you're definitely going to conquer this, that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be cured from whatever this darkness is for the rest of your life. I don't give any medical advice. If you have any kind of issues, please do seek out medical advice if you are concerned in that area. But what I mean by you're definitely going to conquer this is that you are mentally going to, for sure, you're mentally going to rise up to what it is you're facing. And it will not hold the kind of power over you as it currently does. Anguish. This definitely is this is very heavy. And I want you to know that Spirit is wanting you to move towards trying to release some of that burden with either people around you, any kind of support system, any kind of whatever kind of support you can find in your environment. Spirit wants you to let go of that shame and know you don't have to lift all of that on your own. You're incredibly strong, but that doesn't mean that you have to do it all on your own. I think there's a lot of like tests and such that you may be going through at some point in time. And if so, I feel like what is the heaviest is not knowing what you're dealing with. And like I said earlier, there might be some investigation around DNA or your ancestry. I feel like being able to get a diagnosis of some kind, naming the problem will get you so much motivated. It will give you so much validation of, you know what, now I know what it is. I know it's not just me being dramatic. I know it's not just me making this up. This is something that I'm actually dealing with. And I think that's when you're able to let go a lot of that shame, because it is something that you just get a lot of validation from that. And if you are in physical pain right now, please don't ignore that. Please seek help, because it does feel like you're going through a lot of pain. Okay, let's get some more oracle cards. That's interesting. We have unlock your heart. The imagery is interesting because there's this horse, and we have the Sagittarius horse here. Unlock your heart again speaks to me about depression. Like, sometimes the deepest pains that we have, because we're so shameful, we lock it away and we think that nobody else should have to deal with it aside from us. When that's not necessarily true. Like, it's okay to seek out help. Step into the unknown, I think, also speaks to seeking out help, because you don't know if someone might judge you for asking for help, but you're being asked to, and step into the unknown is also a very like Two of Wands energy. Take positive action is at the bottom of the deck. Take positive action in this case, I feel like relates to you seeking out support once again. I'm actually not quite sure of the order that I pulled earlier for the other reading, but it doesn't really matter, so let's take a look. So we have the Death card again. And I want to state once again that the Death card is not as literal as it sounds. This does not necessarily mean death is upon us. This means that we are facing transformation. This means that we are facing darkness. And the Death card was the first card out, okay? So I know this one looks a little bit scarier, but I think this speaks to, again, this looming fear. And I think that once, because that's how it is a lot of times. What's scary about death to us, especially when we see the Death card, is that as a whole, humanity, we don't know what comes after, right? That is what's scary. It's the unknown, stepping into the unknown. We don't know what comes after, so dealing with any kind of topics that even borderline around the topic of death is really difficult for a lot of people to talk about, because there's that fear, and you don't want to stir anything up, and it feels I don't want you to be afraid of this card. This just feels like the fear, especially because, this is like, it feels very mental. It feels like the fear is keeping you from getting a diagnosis. Again, I'm not giving you any kind of medical advice here. This can be so many different things. This can also be, we can also relay this complete reading to to relationships, for example. This doesn't have to be, it's just a vibe that I was getting, but this can also be facing the ending of something and realizing that once everything is said and done, you're able to work towards being in a much healthier and much better place, because what you were in was just so heavy. Let's see, let's get some more oracle cards on how to deal with this. Death ultimately is just a trigger of transformation. But we're often so scared of transformation in general. Let's get some more oracle cards. See how we can deal with this. Responding, not reacting. The only control we have is in how we respond to the hand we are dealt. The only control we have is in how we respond to the hand that we are dealt. I think this relates again to the aspect of shame. Like, shame isn't going to help you in this situation. You need to release that so that you can, and here we go, renewal. So that you can face renewal. Regeneration begins with decay. See, this is why I wasn't worried about death, because that's what the death card represents. It's transformation. Renewal. Regeneration begins with decay. And the fact that we have the death card that came out immediately followed by the Fool, that's why I was telling you, you're so potent with potential. There's just like so much heaviness that needs to be released. Let's get one last oracle card from this. I can feel the heaviness and I can feel the burden. But I do see that it gets better for you once you face that shame is not helping you, that is not keeping you safe, but it's keeping you stuck. And that once you're able to really take a look at what it is that is weighing you down, once you're really able to examine that, you're able to harness that knowledge into drive and motivation to be better. Keep searching. If you do not ask questions, how can you find the answers you seek? This is all about this card. This is all about keep searching for what it is. Try to name what it is you're dealing with, because if you get stuck in your shame, you're just gonna stay stuck. Supremely free is at the bottom of the deck. Wild rejoice in jungles, not in cages. Supremely free just speaks to me again, like, look at how colorful this is. And this is one of the like holographic cards, the shiny cards in this deck. There's only a few. This speaks to me again about how you are about to enter this much freer space, this space that's going to be more enjoyable for you. So much more sweet. You're going from these dark cards to so much color and so much life. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope it motivates you. I hope it confirms for you that what you're dealing with is real. And the next step is to figure out how to get from that darkness into bring back color into your life. Whew. I hope that this can help you lift a little bit, at least. Thank you for being here. I hope that this was helpful. And I hope to read for you again sometime. And I'm sending you, my heart is like, I can feel it right now. I'm sending you so much love. And the best of luck. Bye. Hi, Pal 3. If you chose these yellows, the butterscotch sauce, and this beautiful turquoise, and I do think it is coral, I'm not sure. Yeah, there's little indents in it. It does look like coral. Beautiful. Giving me the power of 4 with the turquoise. I don't know why I feel compelled to touch them all like that. Let's put that up here, and let's put these, look, you're actually the only group that gets 2 of these, because it just felt like there was another one. When the first one came out, I was like, there's another one. Okay, so we are taking a look at, this is a reading for difficult days. If you are facing some tough days right now, we are trying to get some insight, perhaps why, how we can deal, maybe get some light at the end of the tunnel. We shall see what comes out immediately. Alright, immediately it feels like life is a little rough right now. Yep. There's a feeling of having to, I know this is biting a rabbit, this dog is biting a rabbit, but I heard bite the bullet. And at the bottom of this card it says end of when I have to say it, I can say it perfectly when I'm talking to someone or I'm on my own. Whenever I have to say it on camera, I butcher it. Naivete. End of naivete. Don't know why my brain does that. Maybe that is something that you struggle with too. Okay. I'm immediately getting a sense that you are a giver. I think you like to provide for people. Yep, and I think you might give too much. I have a candle over here, and it's been burning perfectly fine, and I feel like ever since your reading, the flame is really small. And it's kind of like the wax is pulling too much. Here, I'm immediately feeling like there might be someone who has recently tested your loyalty, or in a sense, I don't want to say betrayed you, but has kind of hurt you. And you didn't, you didn't see it coming. You didn't, I don't want to speak too soon. Let's see what else we get. There's definitely some, okay. I think somebody or a certain situation has taken for granted the fact that you are a giving person, and it's unearthing to you that your giving nature actually comes from a negative place. And that's hard to wrap up. That's hard to put into words, because it's not so much that it's not like your giving nature comes from negativity in the sense that, oh, you're only giving because you want to receive. That's not it, but it's more so you're giving because you don't expect to receive. Like it somehow is coming from a shadow place, and it's draining you. We have black hole here, and then there's Pluto. But it's like, you know what a black hole does? Don't ask me what a black hole does. I don't know why I said that as if I could explain it to you. But from my understanding, it's a hole that then just sucks in everything around it until it itself like collapses in itself and then just gone. Right? I think so. But this is the sense that I'm getting. Like, I'm hearing you're collapsing. It might be that the structure, and I'm getting like a vibe of a friendship. There might be a friendship, a structure that is collapsing. But I'm not too concerned about it, really. It might be painful, and of course that pain is justified. It looks like it's painful. It looks like it's brings out some ugliness. But ultimately, this is a change for the better. We have Pluto down here. We have drain of resources, dangerous undercurrent, and down here with Pluto, this isn't an undercurrent anymore. Now we see where the current runs, and we have finality, distance, separation. Pluto is, as you may know, I am a Plutonian, which is why the name, but Pluto is about unearthing the deeper layers, the deepest layers, and bringing up the deepest soil, because it's full of potential for new growth. Okay, so we are turning over old soil in anticipation of new growth. So ultimately, that's why this transition is happening. Does it make it any more fun? No. There is some bond of trust has been breached. And I am recognizing right now that we have a queen and a king. We do not have a queen and a king. This is a knight. That is so weird. I was totally seeing a different card from another spread. We have a queen and a knight. This feels like there was some type of trust that was stable, and then I don't know if it does feel like something actually happened. This bite looks painful, right? But also, this bite looks painful, and there's a lot of different situations and scenarios that this applies to, right? But the dog isn't necessarily causing pain to the rabbit because the rabbit is already shot by this person in the background with a bow and arrow. So the dog is just retrieving it, but it feels like this is somebody that you trusted, and they might not have caused the pain, but they're definitely not contributing to you feeling any better. That is what that feels like. And it feels like it feels like there was some kind of either information or some kind of, again, I'm feeling like a test of loyalty. I'm not sure why. Like you somehow got tested. And you were very sure of where your loyalties lie. And then it feels like something came out of left field. And we have perseverance, stamina, and survival. And this is the Seven of Wands, which is like all of a sudden you had to defend yourself in a way. And this having to defend yourself, even though you felt very sure of where you're at, having to defend yourself then caused you to doubt the investments that you've made in the past. And you realize that once again you were too giving with your energy. And that giving nature isn't complete altruism. It comes from a habit that you are sustaining. Sorry about that noise. My cat almost fell off his sideboard. It's like you realize like there's this monster inside. We all have monsters inside us, okay? So there's one particular monster in your little monster gang that you're like, well, this one can stay because it doesn't cause me to do negative things. It causes me to be nice to people and to be forgiving and to be loyal even when they're not. But just because that monster doesn't express itself in a negative way to other people doesn't mean it's not a negative monster, because it is a negative monster to you because it is causing you to feed a black hole. Ooh, sorry, I don't mean to be so harsh, but I think you are not fully aware of the situation. And I think it's causing you a lot of confusion. But I think what's also causing you a lot of confusion is that you could sense that this was... it's very confusing energy, because it's like you sensed it and you ignored it or something like that. And then going forward, we have you being able to release this because you have to, because it's, I mean, where do you go from this? So you release it, it changes your perspective changes, and you realize, okay, the benefits that you can reap from the situation. You've completed this, and it takes you to a place of being able to be more in tune, be more in tune with your intuition, understanding. Also look at the similarity between like this being a sea monster and this being like a very sweet kind of sea creature, and being able to understand what you have to gain from this monster. by facing it. Let's take a look at what emotions are possibly blocking you at this time. Oh, that is interesting. You see how that fell out to cover this card right here. And I was saying, like, I don't think you were so sure about your loyalties, you didn't see this coming. And what is blocking you, this card, it's kind of hard to read because it's in yellow, it's optimistic. It's like you were too optimistic about a situation. You were ignoring your intuition that was telling you that there was some type of danger. Yep, you weren't focused on it. What is blocking you? Disoriented. Didn't I say that? Disoriented? Like you're confused. You're like don't know like what just happened. And then we also have disgust. And I think this disgust comes from facing this monster and facing like how much you've let slide. And grief. The finality of what it is that you apprehension at the bottom. Apprehension. Grief over what you are letting go of. But I mean, are you losing anything? Because that doesn't look fun. Okay, we're going to pull some oracle cards. Ground yourself. We have ground yourself because you are disoriented. I just covered that up. You are disoriented. It's difficult for you to tell where's up and down, and especially with this imagery right here too. There's this dolphins and these two like male figures behind them, and it's like you don't know which side is up or down. Grounding yourself means coming back to who you are outside of the expectations of others, who you want to be outside of the expectations of others or the loyalty of others. Assimilate life experience. This talks about actually taking in this lesson. This was a lesson. I think it's disorienting to you because you don't understand why this happened, why you're having I think you're having a difficult time with this because you're not believing that this happened for a reason, possibly. But this was a lesson to show you that this monster is... Whatever external occurrences happened were meant to show you that there's a monster lurking within you that is holding you back. And that is draining you. So it's not so much about blaming, like pointing the finger at someone else, blaming them for pain that they've caused you. Yes, you're absolutely right in grieving this situation and feeling that pain. But it's more about how did you get into this situation in the first place? Break addiction. This feels to me like, and see how she's holding up her arm. She obviously feels weak. She doesn't want to be holding up her arm. She's holding up her arm to support this bird that's breaking out of an egg. This feels very much like... And there's also more eggs in her hair, and it's like being weighed down because you're trying to... Because you're putting others first. And breaking addiction in that sense means breaking that pattern, breaking that habit that you have to... to let things like this slide. Let's take a look at these now. Guides and blessings. This is the number 4-4. Guides and blessings. Do you see how there's this cat behind her figure? And then there's these skulls on her shirt. This feels very much like you are protected. And so if you are protected, you might feel like, well, then why did that happen? It's a blessing in disguise. A blessing in disguise. I know that's not how you spell that, but that's still kind of how it feels, because it's like you, and here too, like these swans came in too. This is a blessing in disguise, and I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but it really is, because look at how powerful this card is at the end of all of this. So secure and powerful, and really embracing their shadow and being able to navigate waters much more calmly. You're protected by your guides, and that's the thing, like I think your guides were trying to speak to you beforehand and trying to tell you to move away from a certain situation or person, and you didn't, and that's now the aftermath of that. And I think going forward, you won't ignore that kind of direction again. So we have a little bit more information on what you're possibly feeling, but again, that doesn't make it any easier. Of course, that's still like difficult days that you're facing, because you're trying to reorient your compass. Spirit self, be who you are as you are. Yeah, I do feel like there's some kind of, there's like a part of you where you've neglected, you've made yourself smaller for others, and Spirit is asking you to cut that out because it is not serving you. You embrace your monsters by facing them, and then you make them work for you instead of against you. Lantern, consciousness is light. Consciousness, that's exactly what I just said. You face them. Once you bring awareness to them, you're able to harness their powers. Okay, actually, let me leave this here. Okay, I'm going to pull one more oracle card, and then we will close this out. I do think that overall, you are headed towards being more self-reliant and having a stronger foundation. I think you're definitely, like I said, you're a giving person. It's just important that you learn to distinguish who is worth the energy that you are giving. Okay, and again, I have two cards that want to come out. Find your music, move in space with minimum waste and maximum joy. And we have embrace your growth. A weed is but an unloved flower. Embrace your growth. Yeah, I think this feels like an emancipation. This feels like an emancipation. Like you're coming out of a shadow, even if it is your own. It might be someone's shadow, it might be your own. You know what, I'm also just like drawn to looking at this again, and it feels like these 4 turquoise stones, like I almost feel like you're the stone in the middle, the red, and these turquoise stones just feel like protection. So I do think that you are very protected. Move in space with minimum waste and maximum joy. Minimum waste means not giving your energy to situations or people that don't know what to do with it. And then at the bottom of the deck, right quick, we have Pioneer. Ride the energy of your own unique spirit. Yeah, unique. Your unique spirit. You are being called to step into you're being called to have the kind of solidarity that you have for other people. Have that with yourself. First and foremost, have that kind of loyalty and solidarity with yourself, because you're absolutely worth it. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I hope that this was helpful, and I hope it provided some confirmation, some guidance. I think you are gonna get through this, and you're gonna learn from this. You're gonna gain from this, even if it seems like there's a loss of some type, but you're actually gaining from it. So I wish you the best of luck, and thank you for joining me today. I hope to read for you again sometime. Have a good one.